Hey everyone, Jeremy here. It is Thursday night, and we're going to create some art. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, it's Thursday night. I really didn't have a lot planned today. I got to be honest. This entire drawing that I'm going to do tonight was inspired by this piece of paper that I already kind of had prepped. On Tuesday, somebody asked me. I think it was because I can asked me. What's the process that I usually use from start to finish? I thought I'd kind of go over that. This isn't my normal style, but it is a style that I use sometimes. I'm hoping that this picture that I'm going to do today is this like expressive, kind of free flowing, just kind of like, just artistic impulse kind of picture. So that's what we're working on tonight. If that's cool with you guys, hopefully you guys will chat with me during this process and we'll have some fun. I'd say a couple of people already in the room. We've got Kid and we've got Kinsley loves puppies. That's enough for a party. So all we need is like two people for a party. So oh, we also have Coop Art, so that's cool. Yeah, because they can't better show up. Well, I don't know. It's just like basically, a lot of people ask me, how do I get started? Where do I even begin? I'm staring at this blank piece of paper. What do I do? Right. So again, this isn't like some of my pictures. I start with like this grand concept, and I actually map everything out with a ruler and all that stuff. Here, I'm just gonna kind of kind of like shoot from the hip, kind of like freeform it. So hopefully that's cool with you guys. Um, so kind of to explain so I already have kind of an idea of what I want to do. I want to do this fox face, right? So like there's a couple of things that make up a face of a fox, right? You have the eyes, you have the nose, you have the mouth. There's like different shapes in a fox face. A fox face, I just love saying fox face. A fox face is a little bit different than like a mouse face or some other kind of like oval type shape. A fox face is very like triangular, right? So that's a good place to start, right? So I'm looking at this blank piece of paper, and like I said, this entire drawing that we're going to do hopefully turns out well, because otherwise this whole preamble it just is dumb. Um, but yeah, so like the whole idea was I already had this square piece of paper. I already had it treated with this like this Liquitex clear gesso. So like I talk about this product a lot. I'm not trying to endorse it or anything. I'm just saying that this is what I use. This is basically like marble dust in kind of like a glue. I don't know how else to describe it. There's probably more to it than that, like some sort of technical thing or whatever. But it basically is like this kind of like rough texture that dries clear, right? So what's cool about this is you can use it over any kind of like a background. Now, in this case, I'm just using like white paper and stuff like that, but it could be like watercolor, it could be wood, it could be, like an acrylic painting. It could be whatever you want it to be. This clear gesso over that will allow you to use pastels, right? So I do like using pastels. I've talked about them a lot. I've got pastels, pencils. I've got pastel sticks. Not that it matters, but this is the brand I use. Like who I don't know how to pronounce this. Some Japanese name, I think. Ahuhu. But anyway, this is what I use for my pastel sticks. I've got sorry to reach across the page like this, but this is my pastel pencils. I also have a nice set of Derwent pastel pencils that I use from time to time, but I like to save those. Those were a gift from a friend of mine in the UK. Shout out to Just Dave. He's an awesome guy who lives near the Derwent plant there in the UK. So he sent me like a bunch of Derwent pastel pencils. So I don't really want to burn through those. So I use these like cheap little ones for most of my drawings. Um, Unless I'm doing something fancy, and then I'll use the Derwent pencils, because I like the brand Derwent. That's the pencils I was using on Tuesday for my little mouse picture. Um, so I use Derwent a lot. I love Derwent. He sent me this very awesome set of like pastel pencils. They're in this like like nice box and all that stuff. I don't want to waste them, so I don't. So anyway, I use the cheap stuff most of the time. That the sticks I bought, I think, was $30. The pastel pencils I bought was under 20. So like total $50 all in, right? This stuff runs you for a bottle this size, I think it's 8 fluid ounces. This runs you about like, I don't know, 14, $15, something like that. Maybe it's up to 20 with inflation. I don't know. It's been a while. This bottle has lasted me a while, I think almost a year, um, because you don't really use a lot of it. So you can get like big buckets of that stuff if you really want to. But anyway, um, so so basically, I already had this square piece of paper primed with that clear gesso essentially, and you know, I wanted to use it because I didn't really know what I wanted to work on tonight. I just wanted to work on something simple. So I came up with this idea of this fox face because I think it would look cool on the square paper. But this paper itself is just watercolor paper. Now, if you did pastel paintings or drawings or whatever you want to call them, you can get pastel matte paper, which is already sanded, or this product called sanded paper. You can get this stuff that's made for pastels. You can even get this pastel paper that they sell at like Hobby Lobby and Michaels. It's got a little bit of tooth to it, but really most people who do pictures use a kind of sanded paper. Now, I don't know if you can hear that, but it kind of sounds like sandpaper, and the reason why is because it's got that clear gesso on it. So that's the science behind the paper prep. Again, like I said, I could have started. What's just Geppetto doing? He's just hanging out. He's just hanging out, Kinsley. You know how he is. It's like he's like trying to hold up the pencil or something. I don't know. I don't put a lot of thought into his poses. I just kind of like lay him out there and let him do his own thing. Um, so anyway, that's the prep of the paper. Like I said, you could use watercolor, and because it's watercolor paper, you can kind of like do some designs as the background. Like there's plenty of videos on my channel of me doing exactly that. Feel free to check those out. All right, so the next step is I have to figure out where I want this stuff to be on the paper. So like I kind of have the idea that we're going to be zoomed in on like I get my inspiration a lot from Pinterest. There's this picture I found on Pinterest where there's this fox face. It's kind of zoomed in. You have kind of like the eye in this area, the mouth in this area and stuff. I like the layout for that, and just kind of talking about layouts in general and composition in general. I could draw like a fox where I have like the eyes here and the nose and the mouth and stuff. I do that kind of drawing all the time, but it's more visually interesting to kind of just like do like a more interesting layout every now and then. And like if you zoom in on a fox face and you kind of have the eye off center and the nose off center and stuff, it kind of has this like visual interest to it that you get for free just by laying out your picture that way. So in my mind, um, like I feel like I'm talking a lot, but this is what people ask. People ask for like the big breakdown, right? So that's what I'm trying to do here. Um, so I feel like if the eye is kind of in this area here, right? The nose can be kind of in this area. So in some cases, I'll sit down and I'll actually take like a reference photo and stuff, and I'll like look at it in Photoshop, and I'll use a ruler to figure out exactly like where on the page these things would be. But I'm kind of freehanding it now, all right? So I kind of want to like show you how you can freehand this stuff and still get away with things in like a way that makes sense. And at least it makes sense to me, right? So I want the eye to be a little bit off center. So if you imagine this being the center of the page, right? And this is one of the reasons I wanted to use a square is because it's easy to visualize. So this right here would be kind of about the center. Now I'm kind of eyeballing it. I don't really know for sure, okay? So if I want the eye to be kind of off center, I want it to be basically in this area here, right? So I kind of want the corner of it to be around here, and I'll just make these little marks. I won't draw like a big old eye. I'll just kind of mark off, okay, I kind of want the eye to start there, kind of like the corner of the eye, and I want it to come out maybe about this far. Now, I'm not sold on that yet. Like, I can still move things around. I have no idea if I want to change things. I do want you to see the other eye a little bit. So I'm going to kind of mark over here where that eye might be. So as you can see, I've kind of created this like visual interest by having the bridge of the nose for the he's digging a hole back there. The visual interest of the fox being kind of like the nose here, instead of in the very center of the thing, which would be arguably a little bit kind of boring, right? Kid says looks like he's getting ready to do some weighted squats. Yeah, I think he's working out. All right, so if that's where the eyes are, and I want this to be like a fox, again, it's going to be kind of a triangle. So I want his nose to be basically right around here. And I want his mouth to be basically right around here. Okay. All right. So this is basically where I want my fox to be. Okay. And now I can I don't really need to draw it in because I'm going to do this like kind of loose picture of it, but I can kind of sketch in a little bit of like where I want these things what I want these things to look like. I don't really want to like get kind of dark with this, or like not dark as in like morbid or anything, but like dark with my pencil marks. I want it to be very light because I don't know if this is exactly where I want the eye to be. I want to be able to, I want the freedom of being able to move this eye around, right? So like I could be like, because it's so light, I can just kind of rub this out and then like move the eye over to the left or to the right, whatever I want to do. And I'm not stuck on it. I want kind of like the eye to be, um, lined up. So I want the corner of this one to be kind of lined up with that. So again, I'm not sold on that. I can kind of move that stuff around. I kind of want the nose to be here. All right. So because I know that that's where the general face of the, and like basically his eye is going to actually look like this, a little bit rounded. So I think that's kind of cool. You're like zoomed in on a fox face. I know it doesn't look like much yet, but we'll get there. So because I know that that's generally where the fox face is going to be, I know that, well, foxes are these colors, like they're kind of like these oranges, right? And then when you get over to here, it's going to be less fox face. When you get up here in the shadows and stuff, it's going to be less fox face. So I can start filling in that stuff, and this is what they call blocking in, right? So, hey, how's it going, Rum Dog? Appreciate you hanging out with me. So this is what they call blocking in. And basically, I'm going for a big shape here, right? So the big shape I want to go for is that triangle that I mentioned makes up a fox face. I just love saying fox face. It's a lot of fun. All right. So I'm just going to kind of make a triangle here, right? So I kind of have you already focused on that face, okay? You see how that works? So you're focused on that face, not just because that's where the eyeballs are, but I've created this kind of diamond shape. I said triangle at first, but it's really a diamond shape. So I've created this diamond shape that's going to force you into that area, okay? So I know that all of this over here is going to be basically blue, okay? And this is why I love using pastels. I can do this pretty quickly. All right. I know that all of this is going to be basically blue, and I can kind of like box you into this fox face. We'll come back to that. Right now, I just kind of want to blend this stuff in because this is a good base to start with. We'll build this up, but this is a good start. So usually I don't talk this much about the actual process, but I think this is good, like this is the kind of stuff that I want to do on this channel more because people seem to respond to it. Like when you explain the process, like I like chatting about movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And you guys seem to enjoy it. But when you explain the process, people who are actually into art, they kind of tune in and they want to like learn how to do this stuff. So this is mostly for them, and because I can, because I know because I can draws as well. So like he's kind of interested in this. So at this point, it doesn't look like nothing. It looks pretty boring, right? It looks kind of weird, actually. So the next step is that, well, the fox itself is going to be kind of orange. So we're going to kind of block that stuff in, okay? And while we're blocking it in, we're kind of conscious of the shape of the fox's face, all right? So like, it's not just the diamond that we've set out. There's also like the ridges of the eyebrows. Well, they don't have eyebrows, it's all fur, but the eye sockets, and then the bridge of the nose coming down. These type of things are features of the fox, people, whatever. So there's like a three-dimensional aspect to this kind of stuff. So as we're blocking this stuff in using, a block of pastel, we are kind of like going along those ridges that would be there. Mostly because, it doesn't really matter in terms of the actual drawing. The drawing can be changed and stuff, but we're kind of like really doing this for ourselves. We're basically sculpting out what the drawing will be, okay? So we know that this part right here is going to be the basic like cheekbone. We know that these are going to be the brows and stuff. We know that basically this color is going to kind of come up here. Again, it still doesn't look like anything. It looks like it looks really rough, but that's okay because that's part of the process, So we're going to go ahead and blend all that in. And it looks like it still has some blue on my finger, so it's going to come out a little bit green, but that's okay. This is like an expressive picture. It really doesn't matter if you blend these colors in and they kind of look a little weird. It's just about giving you this soft kind of like backdrop for you to add stuff over. Right. And you can use other stuff. So I use my fingers. Like I imagine like, girls who want their hands to be soft or whatever, you don't want to use your fingers or something like that. That's fine. People use like those like foam peanuts. They use those things. Some people use those pool noodles that are kind of foam and stuff. They cut up pieces of that. You can use all kinds of stuff. You can use a blending stump for this. I like to use my hand just because I don't really care. Like my hands are a little bit rough from doing yard work and things like that over the years anyway. So I don't really care about like calluses or whatever. But if you care about keeping your hands soft, you can use other tools. All right, so now we kind of have like, again, it doesn't look like much. It looks kind of weird. I know. Um, let's see, what's the chat saying? Oh, you guys aren't talking about anything. Um, but we kind of have this idea of where things are. So now I know that the eye is going to be basically a little bit orange as well. All of these colors kind of work together. I'm going to start us out with a little bit of orange in here in the eye. Same deal over here. All right, so I know that this nose here is going to be kind of blue. So go ahead and plop that in real quick. So it's going to be kind of like this blue nose. As you can see, it's kind of like if you cross your eyes, right, and you like unfocus your eyes, you can kind of see a fox developing here. All right, I know it's kind of rough and stuff, but that's how these things go. You're building up layers. It's the same deal if you're painting a picture as it is if you're drawing in pastels. That's why a lot of people call pastel pictures pastel painting, because it is kind of like you're building up paint layers. Right, and I always start off like with this really blurry kind of mess and stuff, and then I kind of like work from there. All right. So now I kind of have a pretty clear idea of where everything is. I know that the nose is going to be here, and then the mouth is going to be kind of down here. I don't have a lot of space here for the nose or for the mouth, so I'm going to kind of redirect my art a little bit. I made this nose a little bit too big. I'm going to kind of put in a little guideline there to let me know to give myself, because I had it all the way down here. So this is how you kind of like correct yourself, right? So you have this big mass of stuff and you're kind of like correcting it and fixing it and molding it as you go by. All right. All right. So I'm pretty happy with that. It looks like a big Stay Puffed box so far. All right. So let's start refining it, right? So like we know that this is the eye socket, so that we know as you get closer to the eye, things start getting a little bit darker. So we got this other shade of orange, right? So we have like the lighter orange and then we have this darker orange. We're going to kind of add a little bit more shape to this. We're going to get some shadows in here essentially. Okay, and we're going to have same deal on this side. And I love pastels for this reason. I really do. It's really easy to get these kind of marks in here and kind of like develop this. Got the little cheekbone here, and you can do this like really quickly and get the basics of an animal in here fairly quickly. So if you ever go to like an art gallery or a museum or something, and they have these pastel pictures, these kind of like expressive painterly marks and stuff are the hallmarks of the medium, right? So this is why I like doing this. Every now and then I have to clear my hands. I usually have like paper towels around here, but I don't, so I'm just gonna wipe them on my hands or on my pants. All right, so I feel comfortable like blending this in, but I'm not pressing down super hard. I'm just kind of lightly blending this in, right? Because this is this is the second layer above the original one. So now you got a little bit of the original layer poking through, and now you've got a little bit of this darker kind of orange and stuff. And now we're starting to see a little bit of like 3 dimensions. This fox. All right. So at this point, I would probably make a judgment call. Okay, I would be like, am I happy with everything? Do I feel like anything needs to be redirected? Do I feel like anything needs to be um, moved around? And to be honest with you, you know, call it ego, call it like, just confidence, whatever you want to call it. I think I nailed it. I think that things are pretty, pretty good here. So I'm just going to kind of like get this get this nose a little bit more defined. Sorry, but I'm pretty happy with how everything is spaced, right? So I'm just going to go with this, right? So now I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm doing this televised drawing of this fox and stuff, and it looks pretty bad. Um, it doesn't really look like a fox. Nobody really knows what I'm working on. We're already maybe like, I don't know, like 20 minutes into this thing, and people still have no idea what I'm working on. So now I feel like I'm compelled to work on the eye a little bit to give you guys this thing to look at so that I can work on the other stuff while you guys have something cool to look at. So even though I don't have to put in a lot of detail yet, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Like if I wasn't doing a live stream, I would probably hold off on putting this detail in just because it's kind of superfluous at this point and not really necessary. But because you guys are here, I'm going to go ahead and put in some detail in this eye so that you're paying attention to the eye while I'm working on other things. It's kind of a magic trick, art. It's all about directing people's attention, throughout your picture, or in this case, throughout your broadcast, where you want people to pay attention to one thing while you're working on something else. But I like this layout. I like that we've kind of zoomed in on this guy. So I'm going to use, in this case, because we're dealing with smaller shapes. And again, the process here, if you notice, I start with the big shapes, and then I'm moving into the smaller shapes. All right. It's not just my show. If you watch any artist who's explaining their process, so kind of explain that that's the way art drawing works. Okay. So like, there's different, I talked about this on Tuesday, but there's different ways of like, defining your shapes and stuff like that. You can start off, in minutia and stuff at the beginning where you're drawing every single object and stuff and like laying it out with a ruler and all these other different methods. Or you can just start just from the hip like I'm doing today and, kind of like define your big shapes, which lead you into your small shapes. So that's what we're kind of doing today. We got these big shapes. And now we're moving into the small shapes. And because these small shapes are a little bit smaller than my fingers, I've got like these big fat fingers. Well, they're not that fat, but they're decent size. I have to use like a blending stone. So look at this eye going in here. All right, and then around the eye, it's all black. So got this little black charcoal here. Gonna kind of move into that. And I feel like you can get fairly quickly a nice eye in. Again, I'm not really like kind of pushing it in because I still feel like I need to be able to move things around and stuff like that. They have these like Cleopatra eyes, by the way. Like the black kind of extends out and stuff like that. But I don't know. Is that Cleopatra eyes? I feel like a lot of the girls nowadays, they have the makeup where the eyes, eyeliner comes out and stuff. We'll just call it eyeliner. But get this really heavy shadow around the eyes and stuff. And then through here, again, we have a circular eyeball, but then the corners of the eyes and stuff. That on foxes, this is all black. Like on humans, this would be like more pink. Like you have the tear ducts and stuff like that. It's like a big old pink mess. With foxes, it's all black. And usually with dogs and stuff, it's like all black and stuff as well. But I like it. It kind of creates this like a little eyeliner kind of deal. It really helps you like create a nice realistic eye that has like a lot of detail in it and it still looks cool. So I feel like I'm chatting and like talking a lot. Feel free to still chat and stuff like that. I'll interrupt myself and stuff to address whatever you guys have to say. But like I do feel like every now and then I do have to kind of explain what I'm doing, and this is a good one for doing that kind of stuff. It's more like a demonstration than like some of my other pictures and stuff. All right, so I kind of got that marked in. I don't want to get too crazy on the actual pupil because there's going to be like some highlights over it, but we'll get a little bit of a pupil in here. Again, I'm not really blending it in at this point because I still want to be able to move things around if I need to. So I'm very lightly just kind of like penciling this stuff in. Get this other eyeball. I really like this because like, oh, by the way, the reason for the tape is to kind of give yourself a little like, I mean, this is pastel. You like you get the stuff on your fingers if you're not careful. So you leave yourself like a little bit of a lip that you can like kind of move it around with and stuff like that. Plus it creates this nice like even edge. So that's what the tape is for. All right, so we got that in there. All right, so now I feel comfortable. I like how everything's looking. I feel comfortable kind of blending it in. And this is where it becomes that kind of soft stuff, right? So like you guys have seen me do these pastel pictures enough to where it's all these soft shapes. It's all these soft shapes that you kind of build up detail over. I got started early on the drinking today as well. So like I'm kind of writing, this is my second glass of bourbon. I feel like whenever I drink, I get more talkative. I think that's natural. Like I'm a like I mentioned how I'm a bit of an introvert and not much of a public speaker anyway. So like yeah, it's natural that the more I consume alcohol and stuff, the more I talk. It's not like I'm recommending that for people who have social anxiety or whatever. I don't recommend drinking. It's just something I do. I'm an adult. There's a difference. Um, Edie says, my phone says it's National Pizza Day tomorrow. Nice. It's nice that that's on a Friday. Is that always on a Friday? Because, like, that's perfect. What is everybody's favorite pizza? Mine, I like um, I like something with a lot of veggies on it. I'm not a big meat lover pizza person. I like roasted tomatoes, like sun-dried tomatoes, things like that, and mushrooms and all that jazz. The eye is very striking. Thank you, kid. I appreciate that. See, you get it. Um, and it's going. I feel like it's going to improve over time as well. So because foxes also have like a little bit of black along the side of their mouths, I'm going to take the opportunity to kind of define this nose area a little bit more. Just because I already have it on my blending stump. And by the way, I'm using my blending stump because it's nice and soft, right? Like again, I can be using my hand, but my blending stump keeps all these shapes nice and soft. Versus me coming in with my charcoal pencil and actually drawing these things and stuff. I can do these things. I can do all of that fine detail later, but this is great for just kind of like soft focus, kind of getting these things in here. All right, so I got the eyes in there. You're starting to see that this is well, I don't know if it's a fox yet. And you're starting to see that there's something in this that's developing out of it, right? So I'm going to continue with that and, kind of give you something to look at down here on the nose. Um, let's see. I feel like this should be moved over. So again, constantly making adjustments. So I feel like from this eye here, it should come down and this should be moved over a little bit. And then I feel like this should be kind of cut off. I feel like I made a mistake about putting the dark here. So we're going to fix that by really blending that out and then kind of coming back over it with white. So there's two ways you can kind of erase that. You can actually use an eraser, right? You can use like a kneadable eraser or something like that to lift this up. I don't know how well that's going to work. Yeah, that's all right. Or you can just kind of cover it up. That's the great thing about having these different layers. You can kind of cover that up. So this is where I wanted to make it a little bit of adjustment. Like if you scrub back, you'll see like a little bit more clearly that adjustment I just made. That gives me more white space between this and the nose. Now, this blue is a little bit farther out too. I made this nose too fat, right? So I'm going to kind of like address that a little bit. So I feel like from the corner of this eye down, I'm going to kind of draw this imaginary line, right? Um, so all of the adjustments that I make, they're relational, right? So I see the corner of the eye, I look at my reference picture, which could be a fox itself. Like I doubt I can get a fox to sit in front of me for this long, but my reference picture is representing a fox. In the reference picture, basically from the corner of this eye down is what defines the edge of my nose, right? So basically all of this blue I put in here is a little bit much, right? The nose is a little bit fat. So I need to make adjustments to that. And you'll watch as I do this, like a magic trick, this nose will get smaller. All right, and then, you've got kind of the front of the nose. Bring that around. And this is kind of how the big shapes to the little shapes work. I start off with this estimation of what the nose would be. That's the big shape. And then I kind of refine it into this smaller shape. And I did kind of want a little bit more white space on this side as well. So I'm going to adjust that nose basically from here down. Yeah, bring that around. Sorry, whenever I'm thinking, I get a little bit quiet. Okay. All right, so I feel pretty good about that. This is all a different plane, which has some shadow on it. Hey, Larry. How's it going, man? Apparently, it's pizza day tomorrow. Hopefully they have pizzas in Central Florida. I know they do. Yeah. All right, so this is a different plane, like the stub of the nose and the top of the nose. The top is going to have some highlights. The stub of the nose can basically, I don't know what it's called. I'm calling it a stub, but like basically, I gotta stop doing that. I'll end up with pastel on my face, and you guys will laugh at me. All right, so there's a line that shoots up right through the center of the nose. Basically, in most canine, I don't know if like foxes are technically canine, but they're like in canine type creatures. You have this line that shoots up, and then you have the actual nostrils that are kind of built off from that. So this is why you work on the big shape, and then you kind of refine it through the little shapes and stuff. So the big shape is the nose, and now you're working on the little shapes that make up the nostrils and this line and in the center and so on. And you can see I'm not very precise. Sorry, I got itchy. I probably got pastel all over my face at this point. As you can see, I'm not being very precise with my lines. I'm keeping it kind of loose. I'm just kind of like just filling this stuff in. As you can see, it's not like I'm measuring things with a ruler, or like I'm using a mechanical pencil to get everything precise. It's just basically eyeballing it. And it's not a precise science. You can make it a precise science. You can basically measure off every single mark that you make, but it's going to be very time consuming. This expressive way of drawing kind of like makes things a little bit quicker. It's like I'm not a big art historian or anything like that, but my impression is that the age of the impressionists was all about getting things down pretty quickly, getting the impression of stuff. Largely, this is um, sort of impressionistic. You're quickly getting the the general aspects of the fox in fairly quickly. I guess I don't know. I don't know. It sounds good. All right, so I'm gonna bring that down. There is. I'm gonna go with this. Sorry, I hate reaching across the picture. I'm gonna use this brown to kind of like get in the shadows of his mustache, essentially. Obviously, foxes don't have mustaches or beards. Basically, their entire face is fur, but they do have this darker area through here. Part of it is represented by shadows, and part of it is represented by just kind of like how their faces work. And again, you blend all this stuff out. It's all super soft, and it looks very like unrealistic at this point. But that's all a ruse, guys. It's just the first layer. It's just the first layer in a larger picture. So then you kind of blend all this stuff in so that you have some form here. Again, it's almost like modeling with clay or sculpting or something like that. Like I feel like people who can draw well in 3 dimensions like this probably have a leg up if they ever tried to tackle sculpting. I haven't done a lot of sculpting myself. I kind of want to. I don't have the supplies for it. I guess you can buy some Sculpey pretty quick. Pretty. Dang, all this drinking. Um, I think you can buy some Sculpey. That's a tongue twister. Fairly cheaply. I just haven't. Like I felt like that would be a lot of fun though. Doing doing like a Sculpey kind of sculpture. I see some people on YouTube, or actually more like on Twitch, doing sculpting and stuff. I think it's really cool. Like I'm envious of those guys. They're really good at what they're doing. All right. Box is looking good. Thank you. Um, I don't think it's looking good yet, but it is on its way to grab a. All right. So again, building things up. Kind of want to get a little bit of a cheek in here. It's all refining it so that it slowly becomes this fox, not even noticing. So now you have three colors in there, and now it's already starting to look a little bit more like there's details in there. That's how this stuff works. All right. I want to kind of define a little bit more how this nostril works, because I want. So remember, I started redirecting the shape of the nose because I thought it was too big, right? So automatically, because I put this line in and because I developed that nose a little bit, even though this blue is still there, that this these other dark marks are still there, you're starting to see that the nose is becoming a little bit more refined, right? It's starting to become a little bit more that whole diamond triangle shape that I talked about at the outset. And we'll continue developing that. I think that through here we're going to have a bit of, and my marks are all like, scribbles essentially, like wistful, kind of like, okay, I kind of want to move this. I want to move this nose into becoming a more defined shape. So I'm putting in like these little tiny like marks that I may leave in or I may scribble out or like smooth out or something like that. Hey, Mama Q, how's it going? What does the fox say? I don't know. I don't know what this fox says. He says, thank you for bringing me to life. Finding that shape over here. This is going to look really nice when I remove this edge over here. All right. So again, we had that big shape. We had that big triangle and stuff like that. Now it's time to actually kind of carve that out a little bit more. Get this working in our favor. Again, it's all about being like really loose with these marks too, because you want it to look like I don't know, like it's been painted. And also like all of this is like very smudged and boring at this point. So it's important to kind of like come in and just kind of fill in some of that stuff. And I love drawing. I love it. It is so much fun. Sorry, I sometimes forget to mention how much fun I'm actually having here because it is fun. Hopefully you guys find it fun too. But for me, it is. It is extremely rewarding to be able to like come in and just kind of make some marks and stuff, and suddenly there be a fox on the page. Like basically bringing something to life that wasn't there before. Uh, on paper, it's really amazing. You know, like when you do this, I don't know, it's like street art or something like that. It's even more fun because like you're in a public space and suddenly there's something there that wasn't there before. That nose looks painted so cool. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully it'll look better as I move along. All right, so speaking of painted, right? So like if you have a nose, you would have some highlights. And you can kind of bring that along through here. So it's about building up that nose, right? So like you know, you have that base color, and then all right, so like for example, the bottom of the nose down here, there's nothing there. It's all lost in shadow, and you're like, oh, that's not, you know, I don't really know what's going on there, right? But just this little mark here where I'm going to put this little highlight at the bottom of the nostril, bring that around. Now you kind of feel like, oh, that's a three-dimensional nose, right? Just that little mark. And I'm not going to smooth that out. I'm going to leave that as is because that looks painterly. Um, I am going to fill in this bit a little bit darker, but that's how you paint essentially with a pastel, and it's pretty awesome. I think I don't know. Sometimes I really get into this stuff. We'll add more detail to like other places and stuff like that, but I did want to spend a little bit of time on this nose. Whenever somebody mentions something, it's like, oh, that's the part I need to fix up. Because like if you're looking at the nose, I want to address that real quick. Um, but not a candy bar I would buy. Oh, payday candy bars? What, Larry? You don't like candy payday? I love paydays. I'm a big peanut butter peanut person, so I love paydays. Paydays are the best. Um, I don't know if they're the best candy bar though. Like I have to think about that. I've always been a fan of Snickers as like the best. Like I feel like Snickers have the best combination of flavors. Like you should really shouldn't eat a lot of Snickers. Snickers are there's just like too much going on there. But paydays are great. Made some homemade ones the other day. My brother-in-law, not brother-in-law, sorry, brother. Um, sorry, I was my brother's sister. You really shouldn't drink and draw. My brother's sister, so our sister-in-law, made some homemade ones for Christmas. So I fairly recently had some, and they were good. A little bit of blue up in here. Um, a little bit of orange highlight. I know, spending a lot of time on this nose. Sorry, guys. But I'm going to get some detail in here real quick. All right. So now we got the basics of a nose. So we can work with that. Um, kind of the outlines there. Get some details in there. There we go. I think this looks pretty decent. Forget what all pieces I have going on here. Let me go with this. What the fox, Larry? There's a national shortage on peanuts right now. What? It amazes me that some people are allergic to peanuts. Like, like peanuts are everywhere. How do they live? Like, if I was allergic to peanuts, I would be so worried about everywhere I go, like on planes and basically any kind of public space, because like peanuts are pretty ubiquitous. All right, so I'm going to use this white to get some highlight up in here. So again, it's like redirecting things and stuff. Like this nose isn't three-dimensional enough yet. So if I put some white up in here, it kind of starts making the nose a little bit more three-dimensional. I wish this white was a little bit more opaque. It's not. All right. So I feel pretty good about the nose. I feel pretty good about the mouth. I can continue developing that. I want to get back to these eyes now, because like now I have a little bit of things developed and stuff. I want to develop it further so that you guys know what's all going on in this picture. This eye in particular is kind of like the highlight or the focal point of the picture. So I really want to make sure I get this one right. Run that out. All right, so that bottom part, I think, can definitely be a little bit more saturated and colorful. Right now, it's kind of just this light orange. I get that really orange. Or yellowish almost. The payday recipe, it's more of a chocolate peanut. You're more of a chocolate peanut butter guy. Oh, so like a Snickers guy. That makes sense. Or like a Reese's peanut butter cup guy. I do like Reese's peanut butter cups. Those are the best too. Um, like Reese's peanut butter cup Blizzard from Dairy Queen. That's the best. All right, I want to get some yellow. I know some of this stuff doesn't really look all that amazing on this lighting situation, but it does look really cool here. All right. Now I feel like I can get a little bit of highlights in here. I love putting highlights on eyes because they really kind of make the thing look three-dimensional and glassy. And it doesn't take a lot to kind of like sell the idea that these are like glassy eyes and all that. So a little bit of white over a dark area. So the idea is you build up these layers. You have a dark area, like the pupil, and then you kind of build up some kind of light area over it. In this case, I'm going to add some blue to it. See, that kind of looks a little gray, but that's all right. I'll go with it. All right. So it looks a little bit glassy. All right. Now I can kind of come back and really reinforce this black line here. That really pops. Really pressing down hard to get that super black. But again, hopefully you guys saw the whole layout process, because I really think that that's the idea behind BIC's question about how do you start from the beginning and stuff like that. it really is just kind of like carving out some shapes and moving from big shapes into like little shapes. And the more little shapes you cover, like even here, you know, working on these little shapes and stuff, the more little shapes that you carve out of those big shapes and stuff, that's where you get your details. And you get all of these like little visually interesting things that people focus on and latch onto when they're staring at your picture, appreciating it. What does the fox say? Right. Let's move this out. All right, let's get some highlighted details in here. Because nothing is ever just one color, right? So like that started off as black, and you got these like little hints of lighter highlights as well. All right, so now we got a bit of an eye in there. That's good. All right, kind of move out from the eye a little bit, get some fur details going. Again, trying to keep it like kind of loose on these marks. I don't want to be too precise with anything, just kind of random marks going different directions, building up layers. Maybe I'll maybe I'll smooth some of that out. Maybe I'll leave it rough. Are those pastel pencils? Great question. Sorry. Yeah, I mentioned earlier. Basically, I've got a set of pastel sticks. If you go all the way back to the very beginning of the video, like later or something, you'll see the brands. But yeah, I've got some pastel sticks and I've got some pastel pencils here. And then I've got some paper that is treated with some clear gesso that kind of gives it this rough texture that picks up that pastel. But yeah, these are pastel pencils and pastel sticks. Great question. Appreciate that one. Wild blackberries are coming in. Wow, that's a little early for blackberries. I feel like blackberries are more like a late summer thing. I'm a little surprised at that. But you got all these different colors, so like you know, you add these like various colors over each other and stuff, and then you start getting this like depth to your picture. So I started with like just this bland kind of like orange, adding like a little bit lighter layers over it. Constantly reworking things. Bring this orange out a little bit into the blue. A little bit more orange. But yeah, just constantly blocking things in and moving things around. I like using like chunks of marks, like chunky marks and stuff when I'm working on like expressive pictures like this. Like these chunky marks. You can use pastel pencils and do the like a whole thing and everything, but I like to have some areas that are just these like big chunky marks. I don't know what else to call them. Big chunky marks. Every now and then I want to like smooth some of this stuff in so that it looks blended. But towards the outside, I don't want to do that. I want to leave it kind of like, you know, chunky. I don't know what else to call it. I want it to look drawn, but then it's closer to the focal point. I want it to be kind of blended, if that makes sense. So that you get the detail, and then you also get the abstraction, the abstracted area. But yeah, just building up layers, guys. That's all it is. Just working the layers, smoothing it out every now and then just to kind of make it look a little bit realistic. Hey Kinsley, welcome back. Hopefully, hopefully you have a lot of fun outdoors. Now's the season for it, to be honest. It is rough sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. It is rough sometimes to come in and do like a drawing when I'd rather be outdoors or like out enjoying the spring. Um, it's one of those things where like if I can figure this out, I will be so happy to be able to do like live streams from a park or something like that, so that I can be outdoors. But I haven't figured out the internet side of it. I'm surprised my internet's even working. Like it's been in and out all week. Ah, I hate Kentucky internet. Some more blue in here. I like a little bit of blue kind of coming down the face. I can get this in here without making it look weird. Just to kind of like, again, define those areas and stuff and create those three-dimensionality bits. I am going to kind of smooth that out. Let me clean my fingers. My pants. Blend that in. I think it's funny because I can wanted the start to finish kind of picture or like explanation, but he didn't even show up. Hopefully he'll watch this in video on demand. Kind of smooth all this stuff out, and I feel like once I lift this tape and stuff and have that like clean line, it's going to look very nice. But yeah, you just kind of keep going over the same areas over and over and over and again, and then you end up like with all of these layers. This is the reason why you use that clear gesso. That clear gesso gives you the ability to add layers upon layers, and there is an upper limit. Like you do run out of like layers, but there's fixes even for that. Like you could spray this down with a product called Fixative, and then that'll lock in all your pastel, and you can continue adding layers above that. So you know, it's really like you're creating layers of detail to until your heart's desire is met, like until you're done, which I am not. The more layers I add. And it gets easier the more layers that you built up because you have all that defined areas as well. If that makes sense. I don't know. How are we doing on time? Like we're only an hour into it and you're already starting to see a fox here. Which is great. Because if we were an hour into it and you had no idea what we were working on, that would, that would kind of be like, that would suck, to be honest. But yeah, the more you work on it, the more it starts to look painted, which is good. So a lot of this stuff over here doesn't have a lot of detail. We'll get to that, just to let you know. But gotta get the focal points done first. All right, so I do feel like this eye over here is underdeveloped. So let's work on that. Don't have to worry about pupils or highlights or any of that jazz, but we do need to get the eye in here. But How do you avoid making too much green with the yellow and blue so close? That's a great question. I don't know. That's a great question. So basically, you know, you're going to get some of that, right? So like the lighting's not perfect in here and stuff, but I would describe this area here as a little bit green. You've got the yellow background, and then you've got the blue over it. It kind of forms this little bit of green. But if it ever became too much, like here's a little bit of green as well. I know that on camera, like it'll look different tomorrow when I post the finished picture and stuff. But on camera, it probably looks like this is mostly yellow. But I can see a little bit of green in here. And to be honest, that's okay. Like blue and yellow make green, and that occurs in nature and stuff. And this is fine for me. If I'm worried about it, I'll come back over it with a little bit more orange. Um, so like if you're worried about too much green just because you're mixing your colors and stuff, just add a little bit more of the color that you're concerned about. So you know, in this case, like this area here, I feel like it's a little bit too green. I'll come back over it with like some orange. And even though it has that green a little bit as a background, I know that you really can't see this. Now it's a little bit more orange and stuff. So it's just building up. If you're concerned about these things, start building up a little bit more of the color you do want. That's a great question. I like that. That's perfect. Jeremy, the fox looks amazing. Kind of curious why his ear is back. I wonder what he sees before what he says. Kind of curious why his ear is back. So I haven't really drawn in an ear. We're kind of zoomed in and stuff. So really sure what you mean there. Don't know why the fox his ear is back. But yeah, so like a lot of these things, like as you're working, you're constantly making corrections and stuff. So if you find that one color it becomes too dominant or something, it's like if you were painting it, to be honest. If one color just becomes too dominant, you can kind of like fix it by neutralizing it or building up a different color or whatever the case may be. Um, you have the ability to refine it as you're moving along. Um, there are some things that are kind of set in stone. Like I can't just like totally erase this at this point. There's like way too much pigment on the page. Um, but I can move some things around and I can make adjustments and I can make Jeremy, I gotta run off to the shower. I will watch the replay. Take care, everyone. Hey, I appreciate you popping in, Larry. Always a good time. Larry's the best. Um, appreciate it, guys. So enjoy your shower. I was watching a video with like some alligator wrestling the other day, and I thought of Larry. I don't know if like Larry lives in Central Florida. I don't know if he actually wrestles alligators and stuff, but I know that Rome Dog like joked at least a little bit that he does and stuff. I was watching a video about alligator wrestling because I'm just fascinated by it, and I thought of him. I used to live in Central Florida too. It's a wild place. I like it. It's definitely a place to go and visit if you've never been. All right, so I feel like that's pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get some whiskers in here, little lines. Get some of these like little marks and stuff. All right, so I feel pretty good about this side of the face. These are tough. These little wispy kind of like whiskers and stuff. Unfortunately, as a wildlife artist slash dog artist slash whatever the heck I am, I draw my fair share of whiskers. The other day when doing that mouse, it's like Whisker City on that. It's funny. I draw a lot of whiskers, and they're tough. They really are. You just have to kind of like hold your nose and make a mark and hope it works out. I don't know why I always work on this side and then have to move everything because I have to reach across the page and stuff. That's no good, guys. You probably shouldn't work that way. Just a pro tip: don't do what I do. Work from the left over if you're right-handed, and vice versa. I always do it this way, and I don't know why I shoot myself in the foot every time. All right, so I do kind of want to, yeah, I kind of want a dark blue. I don't feel like I have enough lead on this one, but we'll try. So again, the great thing about you got company. All right, so you have to hop up too. That's cool. Um, the great thing about Thursdays is that you go to bed and tomorrow is Friday. I always like that aspect of doing these Thursday night shows and stuff. So like, does anybody have any plans for the weekend or anything like that? I was thinking I might go kind of like art scavenger hunting this weekend. Apparently, there's like some sculptures all around town and stuff. I might go looking for those. Hey, because I can, how's it going? Yeah, so because I can, the other day you mentioned, like what was the process from start to finish and stuff. I kind of like approached this one with that in mind. I spent a lot of time at the beginning talking about how you lay out a picture and how you kind of like work building it up and everything. So like if you are really super curious and stuff, I recommend going back to the beginning and watching that part of it where I kind of explain, how we get from like the beginning to something like this and where we go from there. All right. Again, I got all this over here to do, but I'm pretty happy with this side of it. How are we doing on time? We're okay. There's like little whiskers in. Nostril in here. All right. I actually feel so confident about this side of it, this whole side of it. I'm going to remove this piece of tape just to see what it looks like. Um, in a moment. Like, let me wrap this a little bit up. I want to get a few more focal points. Yeah, basically this whole side of it, I'm happy with. I need to move over to here, but I'm pretty happy with this side. A lot of times, if Edie's still in the room, a lot of times I just kind of go over some areas that have already been done and with like just some highlight colors, like I'm doing here. And I feel like that also kind of helps direct some of the color bits. I'm not a perfect person when it comes to color. Um, like I'm still kind of learning myself, but whenever something doesn't look right, I'll just kind of like add a little bit more detail over it, or just some random marks or something over it. Something where it doesn't look like it's a mistake. It looks like it's an intentional thing, even though it might be actually a mistake. King No Kill says, for some reason you look like you would play Hollow Knight. Do you know what Hollow Knight is? I do not. It sounds like a fun game though. I'm glad that I look like I would play Hollow Knight, though. That's awesome. I don't even know what Hollow Knight is, but I'm glad that I look like I would do it. Uh, Even if you don't tell me what Hollow Knight is, now I have to go and look it up. All right. So I'm so confident with this side of the thing that I'm going to go ahead and remove this tape just so I can get that nice clean line there. Just see how that looks. I mean, look at that. That's pretty awesome, right? So we are not decorating his full eye, but we have this nice clean side, right? Boom. I like that. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to this and try to get that looking as cool in the amount of time that we have left. All right, so I feel like over here we want some dark areas to kind of like really kind of make this form work. So we just randomly put in these marks here to kind of like, again, draw you into this diagonal kind of shape of his face. And some of this could kind of be blended in. Some of it we want to leave rough. But we want you to, like, all of this down here should be dark to some degree. And I kind of like the texture of this paper too. So like this is watercolor paper. Usually watercolor paper, whenever you buy it, it has some texture to it. And sometimes that works well for you, sometimes it doesn't. It kind of like goes both ways. If you're drawing in like regular pencil, like graphite pencil and stuff, I find that like a lot of texture and stuff makes it very difficult for you. But it really works well for this picture, I think. Hollow Knight is a 2D Metroidvania action adventure game where you control a silent insect-like knight exploring Hollowness, a fallen kingdom plagued by supernatural disease. That sounds awesome, to be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you. That sounds like something I would play to be like. I mean, it's been a while, but I do like playing role-playing games like that. Um, it's been a long time, but I used to be like really obsessed with Neverwinter Nights. I used to play on servers for like hours. I played a wild elf. You know what that is? And it was a lot of fun. Uh, Met a lot of people on there that like, I don't know where they're at now, but it was a lot of fun. I like role playing games. I would rather play a role playing game than I don't know some sort of like first person shooter action adventure kind of thing. I used to play tabletop Dungeons and Dragons a lot uh, when I was a young man. So again, we're trying to like box this in so that you feel like everything is you're zoomed in, everything's looking detailed here in the center, but you've got abstracted features on the outside. It's just a matter of going over multiple times, kind of filling this stuff in. Again, it was all smoothed out before. Ended up getting a bit of a nice little cloudy vignette, or however that's pronounced. Then you can get like some other random colors and stuff just to kind of like highlight things out here as well. It's like almost like paint splatters. If you do want to play Hollow Knight, it is a $15 game on Steam, but I wouldn't expect somebody to pay $15 for a game. Random person suggests it. Gotcha. I'll look into it. I don't have a lot of free time to be playing games these days, unfortunately. I wish I did, to be honest. One of these days I'll retire and just play video games. That'd be awesome. So again, it's like just blending into the background. So you just kind of have to put in these random marks to get that working. Some of this stuff you can blend in if it makes sense to. Other stuff you just kind of leave with the texture. Again, like I said, the watercolor paper itself has a bit of texture to it. To get all these like little colors in there. And I do like leaving like chunks like that. I think that that kind of stuff looks awesome. So many different colors. Gonna go and try to get some gonna try to get some whiskers in here and then we'll like work on some of this stuff. Looking great, Jeremy. Thanks, Rum Dog. I'm currently thinking on going to art school because I want to be a professional artist. Hey, like I obviously I would recommend that just because like I'm into art and stuff. It's a tough world though, I ain't gonna lie. Um, I didn't go to art school myself, but I've always been kind of like a creative person, so I would say that like a lot of my career, as I am a software developer by trade. I don't do art, professionally. I would say that like graphic arts and software development go hand in hand, and that's probably a good direction to go. But I really don't know. I don't know if I have any recommendations for young people who are wanting to get into art as a career. I feel like with AI art being out there and stuff like that, it would be a little bit difficult, but I don't want to dissuade you either. I just want to, I wish I had like some good advice on that. I really do. I'm gonna have to spend some time thinking about it. 'Cause I feel like there's a path to success in being like a fine artist. I really do. But how you would go about that, I don't really know at this point. I do it mostly for fun as a hobby. Professionally, I don't know. I really don't know. In today's day and age, it would be tough. I think you should do it if you're passionate about it, but also remember that you're going to have to put some work in. You really are. The problem is the world doesn't value artists like they used to, and it's a shame to say that. They think that we can be replaced by computers. They think that we can be replaced by like coin-operated machines. I don't know if any of that is true, if we can be, but that's what they think. They think that what we do, you can punch in a few commands and generate the same stuff. What do you do with that? I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't. Edie says, I like your style. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. I wish I had one style that I can like claim, but I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place. But I like this style, this expressive style that I'm working on here. Um, I say steal my style. If anything that I'm doing resonates with you, feel free to copy it verbatim. The art section I want to profession in is digital design. Yeah, so there's definitely so I don't know. I don't want to like be all doom and gloom and stuff when it comes to like a profession in art and stuff because there is a lot of room um for creatives. Digital design is one. So like like if you're gonna get into I don't know, like concept art, things like that, there's obviously like jobs in that market and everything. I just don't know. I don't know enough about it to make any recommendations, to be honest. I do wish you luck. I think that art as a career is a noble pursuit, and I do wish you the best of luck. There's always ways to like profit off of art. So I'm a big entrepreneur. I'm always like a bootstrap person. I don't like to like live by other people's permission or whatever. So like for me, if I was like doing art as a profession, I would try to find ways to make it like where I have a lot of control over how that works. So like maybe I would get into like I don't know graphic novel design or something like that, or I would create my own video game if you're into video games, um, that sort of stuff. But that's me, like not everybody's cut out for that kind of stuff. Kinsley says this looks great. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do think that there's a lot of room for art still. And like as much as AI art is in the news and stuff, there, especially if you're doing like traditional art, you're not going to be replaced anytime soon. They want you to think that because they don't value you, which sucks. The people who think that you can be replaced by a computer, they never really had a lot of value for you anyway. They basically just want to like save money off of like your hard work, essentially. They think monkeys can do what we do. Trusted Living. Hey, I worked with a guy that went to a woodworking trade show. There was a machine that operator put in a chunk of wood, and a sailing ship came out the other end. That's kind of cool. He said, "How can you compete with that?" That's a great question. When you can put a few prompts into an AI, art generator, it is tough. Like, how do you compete with that, right? So my answer to that is like, you're not just an artist; you're also a creative. You know, so far computers can't generate an entire comic book. Like, so if you're into like art and you're into like comics or something, or like graphic novels, go off and create one. If you're into, so far, um like art, like AI by itself can't create an entire video game with your artwork in it. So if you're into like video games, just remember art is one aspect of what you're doing. It's not the sum total. Like this fox that I'm drawing is not the sum total of my channel. My channel is like just about learning art in general and having fun with it. um, if uh if if my entire thing was like, hey, I want you to buy prints of this fox, I mean, yeah, AI art can probably do that. And I don't really have it's tough to it's tough to put a value on something that like AI art can compete, like generate faster, quicker, better, maybe something like that. But AI at this point isn't going to talk to you about movies. You get all this conversation about movies when you talk with me. I'm joking. I don't know. These are great questions. It's tough. I don't envy the young person who is wanting to build a career in art in today's day and age and stuff. But also, I'm a little bit older. I've seen some things in life that make me a little bit more cynical than maybe you should be when you're trying to pick a career. I think that you should remain hopeful, and I think that you should, you know, follow your passion. I think that if you really are dedicated, and you really care, you can make it work. I believe in people. I don't believe in computers. Even though I work on computers, I am a software developer. I believe in people. So I say pursue that passion of yours. Don't let things get you down. Don't listen to me. I'm a cynical person. I want you to be the best at your life as you can be, because you know what? That's the one thing they can't take away from you. It is your life. It is what you do. A computer can't can't replace you. That's my thought on that. And I have been drinking tonight, so like I could probably say that a little bit more eloquently. But the truth of it is that I think that people are irreplaceable. One of the creators on the platform created a book cover by the name of something Wicked This Way Comes on digital, and it was what made me want to go digital. Honestly, digital art is pretty fascinating. I've done some digital art myself. I do the traditional art more, just because at this stage I enjoy getting my hands dirty. Um, so that's why I do it. It's not that I personally devalue digital art. I think that digital art is, first off, digital art saves you a ton in art supplies, so there's that. I think that digital art is great, and I would probably do more of it. Except that I really do want to, like, I like the tactileness of traditional art. I like getting my hands dirty here. All right, I feel like I need to get some whiskers in here, so let me do that. This is the tough part, right? Where you just kind of like like you draw a line and hope for the best. But I do like putting these like whiskers in. It's like so much could go wrong here and stuff, but I do just like kind of just kind of get these whiskers in there. This is why I say it's more expressive and like, kind of like free. A lot of the pictures I do kind of like take my time and be a little more precise with things, but I do like it when I can just kind of let the let the pencil just kind of dance on the page. I like that aspect of it. Let me see if I can get a little bit. So this white pencil I've got never shows any kind of like opaque. Yeah, see, I just drew a line there. It's not opaque at all. So I think what I need to do, just want to get a few little white whiskers in here. So let me try. Yeah, it's a little bit thicker than I wanted, but it's fine. Just using the very corner of the edge of it, to draw these lines. I don't like how thick it is, but it's fine. It works. Just dancing across the page, guys. Expressiveness is just like kind of like letting the medium do what it does. Again, I just kind of like just throw in random colors at this point just to kind of fill out some of the area. But yeah, honestly, King No Kill, I wish you the best. Honestly, when it comes to your art career, I again, like I said, I do think that there is room where we can still play in this world and stuff, but it is really changing a lot. It's changing fast. And it's not good. It's honestly it's not good at all. The way that people treat artists, it's not. I gotta be like, I could lie to you and say it's great, but it is not. They don't value you. They think that you can be replaced by a machine. They don't want to pay you. They basically want a free version of you. They think that they can put in a prompt into a computer and generate what it is that you can create. And that's not true. It is not a true thing, but they don't know it. So you've got to show it to them. And that's my challenge to you, honestly. Like, you've got to show them your worth, because I believe that you have worth beyond what a computer can do. I believe that this fox I created, even though, like, yeah, sure, you can put in some prompts and stuff and get maybe a better computer generated fox out of your prompts and stuff. This fox is better than that because I created it from my hands. I I birthed this into existence. That's something that a computer can't take away. Because you know what? Like, if the power goes out, I can still make this fox, and the computer can't. I'm joking, of course, but you get the idea. I think that human beings have a lot of value, and the people who think that a computer can replace them haven't thought it through. Because ultimately, you need human beings to even give the computers meaning. Without human beings, a computer can chug away on some computation for the rest of eternity, and it doesn't matter because no one's around to see it. I have a lot of opinions on this subject. I really do. All right, how are we doing on time? Yeah, we're about at an hour and 30 minutes. I'm almost done, I think. Just want to kind of get some more focal pieces in here. You see, once you have the details in there, you can kind of get a little bit more free with your marks and stuff, and it ends up looking a little bit more expressive. Like, I kind of want to get these red marks in here just to kind of like really make those eyes deep set. This fox turned out so beautiful. Thanks, kid. I appreciate that. I really do. On June 13th, I'm going to Broadway to see the Stranger Things show. Oh, I didn't know Stranger Things was on Broadway. That's awesome. That's cool. All right, so I feel like this is good enough to where I can kind of remove the tape. So I think removing the tape is kind of like, this is something I usually do after the fact, but since we're sitting here and I wanted to show the full process in this video because I can ask, you put this tape on it so that you do kind of get this nice clean edge. Now, because I use that clear gesso, it does have this kind of a little bit of a curl to it, but that's okay because the way you display, yeah, the way you display pastel pictures is you do want it to be behind glass, and you kind of want it to be like a matted. So you'll end up um, you'll end up putting this behind glass anyway. And it'll be like kind of flattened. It's here just to kind of hold this down. There you go. Oops. But I really do like the square format. I think this looks really nice. Yeah. So at this point, again, because the texture of the watercolor paper has this kind of like like these ridges going down, you do end up with like these little like texture artifacts and stuff. I didn't draw those. Those came with the whoops. Those came with the paper. But I kind of like it. I think it looks kind of cool. There are some areas that I could probably smooth out and make a little bit more detailed. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this. And the whole idea is that, you want it to look, um, that is not one to stick down, does it? Um, regular masking. So I'm using regular masking tape on this case. A lot of times when I do watercolor picture, like watercolor aspects, I use the masking tape, or like the blue masking tape. It's not going to stay down. Um, I usually do use the blue masking tape. I don't think there's a reason or like I think the blue ends up working a little bit better whenever I'm doing a picture that might warp the paper. But I don't think that there's any kind of like actual difference. Like you can probably use this stuff. Actually, I feel like there's a little bit more stick to the regular masking tape. The blue stuff seems to be a little bit better on the paper. So like sometimes I'm a little bit concerned about peeling this off, to where I'm concerned it might like tear the paper or something like that. I don't really feel that so much when I'm using the blue, if that makes sense. Anyway, I think that's about it. So again, like if you go back to the very beginning, the idea here was that I was going to show from start to finish how. All right, this is clearly not going to cooperate. So again, the idea was that I would show from start to finish how you move from a completely blank paper to a finished piece that maybe has a little bit of flaws to it, but also kind of looks semi cool. Like I wouldn't say that this is 100% realistic. This is a lot of wasted tape, by the way, guys. If you're into like conserving stuff, do not do what I'm doing here. When I use painted tapes, it always rips the page, so I don't like using. Yeah, so like this masking tape here seems to rip the page a little bit more. I find that like the blue stuff doesn't as much, and you really have to be kind of careful. And it really depends on the kind of paper. So like this paper is watercolor paper. I don't know the thickness of it and stuff, but it's pretty thick. It's absorbent. It holds like your paint, and things like that. So it's already pretty thick. I don't feel like I damage the paper too much whenever I use tape on this stuff. But again, you are being a little bit careful with it. So like I only do the sides, and then I also like kind of leave it a little bit loose. I don't like really press down too hard. And then I'm very careful when I peel it back. I don't know if you noticed when I was peeling it back, I peel away and then kind of like get this part exposed and then I rip it off. All right, so like that's a little bit of a way to kind of like reduce the harm to the paper. But again, like a lot of the stuff, it goes behind a mask. Like if I were to frame this, it would go behind a mask anyway. So you would have some sort of like frame to it that basically, if you have a little bit of a torn edge and stuff, it really doesn't matter. Like the only person it would really matter to is like if somebody bought your painting or something and they took it out of the frame or something and they cared about that kind of stuff. But I don't think most people would. But that's just my 2 cents on it. Um, you don't really have to tape down things. I only taped it down because I personally use the clear gesso. Like if you bought pastel mat, for example, if you're like into pastels and stuff, and you bought pastel mat isn't gonna like warp or anything like that. It only warps because I use wet medium on it. Like I use the clear gesso. In some cases, I use like watercolor, things like that. Those are the things that warp the paper. But also, I use cheap paper. I don't spend a lot on art supplies. So there might be some paper out there that doesn't warp as much. You'd have to look into that. I don't have any recommendations for you. But that's pretty much it, start to finish, guys. Basically, how you can create a really cool kind of artistic piece, starting with a blank paper. Like I said, if you go back to the very beginning, I didn't start with any kind of sketch. I just basically kind of figured out where I want this fox to be on the paper and made it happen. Um, so uh, hopefully, hopefully, you guys see this as inspiration and kind of want to tackle something like this yourself. And yeah, that's about it. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed my fox face. I just love saying that word, that phrase, fox face. Um, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and let you guys go. Do appreciate it. If you're new here, I noticed there's a couple of new people in the room. Hey, this is how it always goes. We just hang out and we just chat and have a good time. I draw a picture. Usually, I explain kind of what I'm going, like the process I'm doing. Sometimes not perfect or anything like that, but I do try. So, uh, if you enjoy that kind of thing, I do, recommend subscribing so that I can bring more of it to you. But it's entirely up to you. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and if so, come back and I'll create some more. How's that? Sorry, I just want to work on some of these highlights here real quick. My dog's whining. I think the dogs want to go out. Anyway, I like it. Anyway, I think that's probably a good stopping point. Jeremy, if you ever did spotty work, we could possibly be mean it. Hey, like if you guys ever have any criticisms, I do have thick skin. I might actually agree with you if you say something bad about my art that I agree with. Like sometimes I'm not 100% happy with it either. So feel free to criticize. I won't take it personally. If anything, I like if you say that something isn't right, I would see it as a challenge to do better next time. So that's totally fine. Feel free to criticize my work. Um, I I know the value of it, and basically, I watch other people's videos, and I know that they're better than me. And then I also know that my stuff is better than some other people's and stuff. So I don't think any of that personally. I know that there's big there's basically a spectrum out there, and my stuff is kind of mid. But that's okay. I'm totally fine with that. So feel free to criticize away. I won't take it personally. Just subbed. Hey, I appreciate that, King No Kill. Yeah, and honestly, man, like I said, or woman, I don't know. I do, I do encourage you to like pursue that career in art. I like go to school for it and stuff like that. I don't think that you would regret it. I'm just saying that there are some challenges there that you need to be aware of, and don't take those things lightly. Road Dog says, looks amazing. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Great. Yeah. So yeah. Good luck out there with the art career. I think that like I said, I root for the humans. I think that you guys will prevail. Anyway. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this done. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Gotta let my dog out who's back there whining. But yeah, I will see you guys next Tuesday. I will be back for another drawing. I'm not really sure what I'm going to work on. I know that the Lilo and Stitch movie's coming out soon, and I kind of want to do like a picture of the live action Stitch, just because I personally enjoy the cartoon version. So, but that doesn't come out until like Memorial Day, so I might be like a little bit jumping the gun there. But anyway, we'll see. In the meantime, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. Yeah, have a good one. All right, thanks. I'll see you guys then. Bye.